Pat, this is no surprise, I guess, that this has become a big issue in the governor's race. The endorsed Republican candidate for governor, Jeff Johnson, has called for an end to refugee resettlement in Minnesota. Why don't we start with what are we talking about here? What exactly do we mean by refugee resettlement?
Yeah, refugees come to Minnesota from all over the world every year, 800 or so, 1,000 or so, it depends on the year. And this year it is lower than it's ever been. Here is what we're looking at. We have a lot of Somali refugees, for example, coming. That's #1 to Minnesota. We have refugees from Burma, from Iraq, even from Syria until last year. This is something that I think a lot of folks were concerned about because of the possible infiltration of terrorists in the refugee population, particularly exiting from Syria. So what we are seeing for the first time in this governor's race is a call to end refugee programs, refugee resettlement programs operated by the state here in Minnesota. This was a very big applause line at the GOP convention in Duluth last weekend, and a lot of people think that this is the way that that the state should go. But it's not that easy. That's the point here.
I mean, Pat, you had some interesting numbers in your story from last night.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a huge decline here in Minnesota. I mean, I think it was down to 1,000 last year, people.
Yeah, that's really interesting to us because the year before it was 3,000 people coming to the United States and coming to Minnesota, I should say, and then in 2017, only 1,000. A lot of this is because President Trump has lowered the cap, lowered the number of people that will be allowed into the United States. Under President Obama, it was 110,000. President Trump lowered that to 45,000. But the actual numbers, according to the State Department, are 29,000. So many fewer people are coming to the United States and to Minnesota. The question is, will people want that to happen? What do these people do? Where do they go? There's already a very strong vetting possibility for all of these folks coming to Minnesota. But if Minnesota doesn't want them, what happens? And that is going to be one of the key issues, immigration and resettlement in this governor's race.
Yeah, even though 1,000 in raw numbers may not be huge, you do think like 1,000 new residents showing up to Minneapolis or St. Paul, that's probably the biggest influx of residents, period. And in a year, 1,000 people is a fair number of people.
Yeah, it's a big number of Somali refugees coming to Hennepin County, Ramsey County, and also Stearns County in St. Cloud. So that's where everybody's going, yeah.